bid you all good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, broadcasting from Merritt, British Columbia, bringing you the better pay attention to this article. It's a really important article I'm putting up here. We've been following this for a year and a half now, because it broke a year and a half. We've been knowing this has been happening for 10 years, but they finally came out with it. Well, Westpac takes a $900 million charge for potential laundering fine. Potentially laundering. If someone wanted to fine me $9 for potentially, I would be all over them. I'd be like, potential? What are you talking about? Well, we know what Westpac has been doing. We know what all the big banks in Australia have been doing. And we know it's been a big hotspot for laundering cash. And the whole Commonwealth is. So it's not just Australia. It's not just Australian banks. It's all over the Commonwealth. Any major city in any English-speaking country is going to have to deal with this one time or another. They're dealing with Australia. Canada still? It's all good here in Canada. Watch if we get a grassroots administration in Canada, things are going to change. A lot of people are going to be behind bars, right? So here we go. Bloomberg, Westpac Corp has set aside a $900 million, that's $574 million US, to settle a massive breach of anti-money laundering laws in what could be the biggest fine in Australian corporate history. This is nothing. They got even fined a couple of more times before that. I think it was, before I read this, I think it was like 20 or 21 million times they've, not $21 million, 21 million individual times that they've broken the law with money laundering. I don't think you could count to 21 million in your lifetime. Like if you count 1, 2, 3, I don't think you could. So the potential fine is a part of 1.43 billion of charges, including increased customer remediation, and that was slashed first half profit, with newly appointed Chief Executive Officer Peter warning further bad debt provisions from the COVID crisis are coming. Now, they're going to blame COVID for this, of course. Nobody's going to be thrown under the bus for this, even though a lot of people resigned because of this. Sydney-based lender is still working out the extent to expected credit losses and will provide a further update before releasing first half results May 4th. I'm gonna be waiting for that. It said in a statement Tuesday. However, it expects to have a significant increase in bad debt provisions. Yeah. Well, again, a lot of Australian proper really wanted to buy in their own markets, and because they couldn't compete with foreign money, they had to. This whole FOMO thing got pushed down their heads, right? The FOMO thing. So the average waged earner in Australia, or average wage earning family, doesn't buy an average wage home. No. They buy a $1.62 million house that's realistically worth $460,000. That's the problem. They're not paying average wage prices for homes. But who is? In the Commonwealth, who? I don't know any. Well, okay, in the parts of the United States, yeah. 70% of the United States still untouched. So we'll kind of see what's going to happen with the United States. In addition to those challenges, Westpac is dealing with an overhang of the money laundering scandal, which could cost both the banks and former chief executive, the chairman, their jobs. Well, these guys are still working there. Woo! And badly bruised the reputation of the nation's oldest bank. The Financial Crimes Agency last year alleged the lender breached anti-money laundering laws more than 23 million times. I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was 21 million times. It was 23 million times they broke that law. 23. You know, if I do something once here in Canada, you know how it works in Canada? On a plane to Portugal. They come here, put me in handcuffs. Put me on a plane to Portugal. They won't even, they'll just take me right to the airport. On a plane to Portugal. One time. 23 million times, including failing to detect payments linked to child abuse. Losers. Who appointed a permanent CEO earlier this month, has said he wants to settle the case if he can. Settle. No, this needs to go to courts. We need to know what's going on with this child abuse. Of course they want to settle because it's not their child. While negotiations are continuing, and there remains considerable uncertainty about the final outcome, Westpac said it is putting aside $1.03 billion, compromising a potential 900 million Australia penalty, and well as costs to upgrade the financial crime system. That would top a record 700 million paid by Commonwealth Bank of Australia in 2018 to settle more than 53,000 breaches of anti-money laundering laws. It would be within the ballpark analyst estimate of a potential fine. Okay, let me throw this out there. Let me throw something out there. There's a reason why if I went to Westpac and I said, okay, I'm going to apply as a district manager. I'll oversee 13 branches in some region in Australia. I'll oversee 13 branches. The reason why I wouldn't get the position as a district manager for Westpac is not because I'm not experienced. Not at all. No, it's not even that. They won't hire me because when I go into every branch, one, they won't know I'm showing up. Two, when I do show up, I'm going to start pulling files, and I'm going to start auditing those files and get the branch manager to tell me, why doesn't this pay stub match this? Why is this going on? Who did a job confirmation? Call the employer now. I want to do job confirmation on this guy right now. You know what I'm saying. I'd go through files. I'd be very tight when it comes to making sure we're not going against policy, to make sure everything's to a T. Same thing with corporate business. Make sure the total debt service ratio fits, the CGS fits, to make sure all the numbers are in line when we make a potential deal so it doesn't fall apart in 3 months. That's why I won't get hired. They want people that could go in there and say, well, if we tell you to do this, you better. Because if someone tells me to do something to go against policy, right? It's not because I'm trying to be a goody two-shoes. It's because they're going against policy and it's going to damage the customer. It's going to damage the customers of the bank, it's going to damage the branch, and it's going to damage in the long run because all the poop surfaces to the top. A $260 million for customer compensation and associated legal fees, including refunding businesses, borrowers, and wealth clients a $70 million in write-downs. Whew. Including software as a virus outbreak significantly impacts the asset values globally of a $7 million related to changes in the provision of life insurance. For more articles, please like Bloomberg, whatever. So this is it, Westpac. I'm not picking on Westpac because Canada would be in a recession without money laundering. So let's take a step back. What if Westpac was under pressure to launder that money? What if it's not Westpac's fault? Huh? What if it's not Westpac's fault? Because Canada is like, what laundered money? We had entire political, what do you call it? Last year, we covered the political debate here in Canada for Prime Minister. I was actually thrown for a curve. I was thrown into oblivion because I couldn't believe they didn't bring up money laundering in Canada. So this is what they found so far. $200 billion from 2011 to 2015 in Canadian real estate. So Canadians are bought out of their market. They can no longer live in their own cities they were born and raised in. They move to other cities, bring up the prices. A good example in Australia is when a bunch of people left Sydney, moved to Perth. Perth prices shot through the roof. Cost of living in Perth went up pretty much overnight. Same thing when Vancouver introduced a foreign buyer's tax. People in Seattle are sitting there like having a good time, then all of a sudden their properties double in 6 months in price because no one wants to pay the foreign buyer's tax in Vancouver, so they just went south of the border to Seattle, Washington, King County, and doubled the price up there. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you guys have a good idea of what's going on. So Canada. So let's not just put Canada in it. I'm not going to pick on Canada all the time. World economy would collapse if the city of London stopped laundering money, says Hong Kong Shanghai Bank of Commerce whistleblower. So yeah, world economy will be in a huge recession. if it wasn't for illegal money. That's the problem. Is the problem we're in right now. We're in a massive problem. Now, people are going to get bailed out because of this. You know, they're at home because of the sickness that's going around. But the average wage earner could barely afford to rub two nickels together. We're in a situation right now where it's beyond. And this stupid, crooked crap. I think every banker going forward needs to become Portuguese. Because in Canada, you do something, they put you on a plane, you go back to Portugal. This way, if everyone's Portuguese, they'll be like, oh, okay, I can't do that because they're going to send me back to Portugal. So this way, they do everything by the book. They don't ruin other people's lives. They're ruining people's lives. And the people that qualify for these positions that actually could oversee things, oversee growth, oversee proper wealth distribution within the company, finding losses and stuff to see if there's any leaks and stuff. Someone that really qualifies for these kind of positions, they never get the job. Because they want somebody in there. Look at the guy that's running WHO. I'm not saying anything anymore. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Go ahead and share this video. And like I said, I'm not picking on Westpac. It's just everybody or everything and everything has failed us. We've been failed. We've been betrayed. We've been laughed at. Anyways, comment below, let me know. Thanks for watching.